I'm now speaking with Staff Sergeant Lee Bradley, candidate for City Council at large. Staff Sergeant, I understand that when I first contacted you, my name rang a bell.
It did. And if you recall, many years ago, when I was in the Marine Corps, our recruiting office was on South Anthony, and I can't remember exactly what brought you in the office or how we met, but that's how we met when I was recruiting for the Marine Corps. And you enlisted in the Marine Corps at that time, but chose another path to go in.
Yeah, I came pretty close, but I think that from that experience, the United States Marine Corps sent me and about 10 others to Camp Pendleton.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I interviewed some general there and put it into a magazine. And then we went to, I took my group to we all went to Tijuana. Right? That's same place, same area.
Well, it's just south of San Diego. Camp Pendleton is north of San Diego. It's
well, we took a train or something.
You probably took the train down to National City.
Okay, but I know someplace we're in Mexico. But anyway, I had cameras with me, and when we got back, they said, "You are lucky to have those cameras." You know, because they said that somebody could have taken them from us, and
that's true.
What could we do about it?
Not a thing. When you cross that border going into Mexico, you're at their mercy. We've had several service guys over the years that have gotten locked up in Mexican jails, and it's not been a pleasant experience. The recent was the young man that got locked up here just last year and spent, oh gosh, several months in the Mexican prison, and finally they did release him. I don't know particular details, and but it was good that they did. You know, he was a hero, so why keep him locked up? We
were there at night. And walking through, it was so beautiful, and all this stuff for sale and everything, and we didn't miss a thing, and trying to talk to everybody, and we didn't know, I guess I was naive, or we were naive, but anyway, back to why you're here. What made you decide to enter the city council race? Why?
Well, that's a good question, Eric, and I felt it was time for a change. I felt it was time for new faces with bold ideas, and it's been too much of the same for too long, so this is a good opportunity to make some change.
And you know, once you're elected, you know, what changes do you want to make?
Well, I would like to work on the economic development a little bit more, and the economic growth. I want to see some renovation, revitalization of the south side of town, as well as the Waynedale area. I think it's great that they've done downtown, but we can't put all of our eggs in one basket to renovate down there. We've got to do the entire city. You know, my philosophy is this: you know, if we're going to take pride in the city, let's take pride in the whole city, not just the downtown area.
Now, one thing I've noticed is, when we talk to different people, nobody really has a clear idea of what Fort Wayne is. You know, what Fort Wayne stands for. How would you like to shape the image of Fort Wayne? And how would that be shaped through your involvement?
Well, I'm not sure I can answer that question in an easy sentence or an easy answer, but basically, you know, Fort Wayne's got a lot of rich history to it. We've got, excuse me, General Anthony Wayne, we've got Little Turtle, Chief Richardville, I guess is how you pronounce his name, or Richardson? Richardsville. So we've got all of the history coming clear back from the War of 1812, so you know it evolves into today. Plus, we've got the fort to keep the history alive in the city, and I think we need to do more to promote that. And with the riverfront development, that fort being there, that's hopefully going to revitalize that fort and bring some of our rich heritage out. Plus, we've got Johnny Appleseed, and you know, not many people know the name Johnny Appleseed, but they don't know that, you know, he's buried here.
You know, by being in the Marines, you've been in the service for 28 years?
23 years.
23 years. You know, what did you learn from that experience that would make you an effective city councilman?
Well, discipline. That's one thing that the Marine Corps taught us, was discipline. You know, the mission's always first, and being a city councilman, the mission is the residents of the city of Fort Wayne. And that's primary concern, primary primary objective, to make sure you serve the citizens. Many politicians and many people that's in elected positions sometimes become self-serving, and that's not what I'm about. I'm about serving the people of Fort Wayne. I served the military for 23 years. I was passionate about that. I was honored to have served this country. Now I want to use the same spirit of service in serving the residents of Fort Wayne.
You know, one of our goals with this forum idea is to have an impact on young people and a lot of people who feel disengaged in the process. You know, right now the crop of candidates who are running this year is so diverse, but they're all going in the same direction. And what I'm getting at is what type of education opportunity will young people have when they look at you guys? I mean, how would a younger person benefit by knowing the backgrounds of you all, especially yourself, because you're no longer in the Corps, but now you're in the political arena? You know, how would the young person pick up on that, and what would they learn from that?
Well, I think the young people have to understand that they're our future leaders. I don't know if they do that or not, so we have to instill them that, you know, when they turn 18, that they have the right to go register and right to vote, to exercise their opinions. And I think everybody should know that. I think everybody should get out and vote. That's your God-given right as an American citizen. And why not utilize that to the best of your ability? Vote for the candidate of your choice, whether it be Democrat, Republican, Independent, or whoever. And you know, we have to get the young people involved, because after all, people my age bracket, and we're not going to be here forever.
You know, how do you feel being a military person, and again now in the political arena, when someone says my vote doesn't count, I'm not going to vote, it makes no difference?
Well, I disagree with that, because your vote does count, because many elections have only been won by one vote. And that one vote, that person that says, well, I'm not going to vote because my vote doesn't count, may be the very reason that candidate does not get elected. They may like that candidate, but because they felt that, well, my vote doesn't count, I'm not going to vote. Therefore, the candidate may lose by one vote. You know, it's been proven many, many times. So I urge everybody to get out and vote. I know this is an off-year election, and I know people tend to not get too excited about off-year elections and stuff, but we've got a mayoral election going on at the same time. We've got our council districts and a few other offices. So, you know, people need to really investigate the candidates, know what they're about. You know, you've got to be informed these days. And if you don't know who the candidate is and what they stand for, you know, you're uninformed, and you've got to know to make an intelligent decision. You have to do your research.
You know, excuse me, I found that a lot of times, a lot of the candidates are intimidating to some people, because I've talked to some people and they feel really afraid to directly ask a question to a candidate, you know, but that's one group. Another group, they're so harshly critical. They're not ever doing anything and just complain about it, but yet they have a tendency to not engage themselves in the process, let their views be known. And I mean, what I was getting at is, you know, how do you, I mean, I was at a city council meeting the other day, and this one guy came up there hammering away. How do you take that? I mean, if somebody hammers at you, and you know, how would you deal with a person all the way from being apathetic to overly aggressive with you?
Well, you just have to look at the situation. You can't take it personally, because it's not meant to you directly. You know, basically, they always have taught me is, you know, you don't criticize the person, you criticize the job the person has done. Because you start criticizing a person personally, then it becomes very personal. And I think many people take stuff personally, so I don't. Being in the military, you can't take that personal, because if you did, you'd never get the job done, the mission would never get accomplished.
You know, curious, would you recommend that as a direction today, the military?
Oh, absolutely. For example, if you've got children and you can't afford to send them to college, or you can't get loans to send them, you know, student loans to do that, let them go in the military. For example, any branch today you can join, and you can go to college while you're in there and get a college degree, and the military will pay for it. I encourage all kids to do that. As you know, Eric, I used to be a recruiter, and that was one of the things I took pride in, was, hey, If you can't go to college because you can't afford it, I can help you get to college if that's what you want to do. Plus, I can also train you to do a job that when you get out of the branch or whatever you're going into, whether it be Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, that you can utilize that skill to do that job, because we have many jobs available to offer these young people today.
But that's not theory. I mean,
that's fact.
I mean, that's real jobs out there waiting on them.
That's fact. That's not theory. That's actual jobs. You know, if you want to be an airplane mechanic, we got a job to train you how to be an airplane mechanic. If you want to be a doctor, Army's got a program today. As long as you've got a couple of years of college, or I'm not sure if it's a 4-year degree, I can't remember the program because I'm not active anymore. But they will get you into med school and get you to become a doctor so they can keep you in there.
From the time you first joined the military, how did your feelings about America change? Because as a kid going in, you had to be naive to some extent.
Oh, I was naive. I was up for the draft. I had to go register for the draft. And in fact, I was in boot camp 2 weeks and got my draft notification to report for induction. So I took it to my drill instructor at that time and I said, "Sir," I said, "I got this notice in the mail today." He said, "Oh," he says, "don't worry about that." He said, "We've already got you, so you're done." So, you know, that was kind of the essence of that. But, you know, that's an obligation that people have. You know, back then, the draft was very viable. Today, it's not. It's an all-volunteer service. So, but the recruiting numbers are still being met. So we do have a bunch of patriotic individuals, and I praise the Lord for those people.
Well, last thing here, you know, what do you want to say to people who don't know you? They just know that you have a military background and you're pretty much new on the scene as far as they might know.
That's correct.
What do you want to tell them about you that would make them show interest and go out and vote for you?
Well, I have a very disciplined background. I'm very passionate about what I do. I was passionate about my service to the country. I'm very passionate about moving forward as a city councilman at large. I have some great ideas. I want to work on revitalization, as I said earlier, of downtown, south side. I'm also wanting to do something to help our homeless veterans and our homeless citizens. And I want to see something done with neighborhood improvement. So, you know, about me, my military background, I think, will lend to that, because one thing we don't have, we need to get in place, is a disaster preparedness plan. I'm trained in the NIM system, which is a National Incident Management System. I'm also trained in counterterrorism. God forbid if we ever have something happen, but, you know, Fort Wayne is a target. So we have to be prepared in all aspects.
You know, you just said something here that just brought up another question. What do you see that's lacking on the south side, and why do you feel that it hasn't been addressed?
Well, very precisely, right where we're talking about, the Kmart Plaza right over here is vacant. You've got a couple of stores in the north side of it. You get just south of there, you've got the old Target location, which is vacant. Then you've got the other store, which is the Belmont Beverage store, I think it was. You go up the street, you've got some places right there. What used to be a shoe store. So, you know, there's a lot of vacant buildings that are viable buildings that could be renovated and used for current businesses. So, you know, we've got to develop this. We've got to bring business in. You know, we've got to create another tax base to help offset what we've lost. So that's one of the things that I think we need to work on, is revitalizing these areas.
And that's all tied back to the identity of Fort Wayne that we have to create?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, if we're going to advertise our city and sell it, we've got to be a vibrant city. And we need more than just the downtown area to do that.
Well, Staff Sergeant Bradley, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for watching.